Good evening, whoever is here or whoever is watching in the future. Boy, I feel like I've been on this camera all day long if I haven't been doing some other work. So I'm just checking here. Camera all day long. Oops. Oh, wait, you know what? I got to do the right thing. Hold on. Let me just throw in the mic. Pardon me. I haven't even started drinking yet. But I feel like I have, because today's been a little bit crazy. Hey, Kanon, what's going up? Going on, Kiss Junkie. How you doing? It's good to see you all here. I hope you have your drink of choice for the evening, because we're not having coffee, because it's way too late to have coffee. And I want to preface this with something first. I'm not a drinker, and I'm a pretty pathetic drinker. So... just so you're warned, I don't think I'm going to get drunk. Hey, Karen, Jennifer. Hola, Jennifer. ¿Cómo estás, niña? ¿Cómo estuvo el día? Lisa, hello. So, because I'm very confident in my masculinity, and I don't care if people like what I drink or not, because I drink what I like, we're going to start with some... raspberry rose Smirnoff Ice. So that's the first thing. That's like the hard stuff for me. Like that's kind of hard stuff. Then the really hard stuff is I know nothing about wine. So I went to the despite the fact that I used to be a bartender, don't ask. So I went to the Lickbo. For everybody who's not in Ontario, that's the communist bureau that sells our alcohol, and I found wine with a pretty label. So I figured pretty label equals good wine. I don't even know where this is from. It's from, I don't know, it's wine, whatever. So if anybody knows anything about wine, you can tell me if that's good or not. La Linda. I figured, well, I guess it's Spanish of some sort. Let's see. It is Argentinian. Oh, well, Argentina is supposed to have good wine, actually. I mean, you know what they say, the problem with Argentina is it's full of Argentinians. I have a very good friend of mine who's Argentinian, and I say that all the time. She gets so angry. It's so awesome. Anyways, I have nothing but love for everybody, and which means we make fun of everybody equally, including the people at the commission, the EMAC commission, and that joke. Kim's tripping. What's up? Cheer, Kiss Junkie. How are you? It's good to see you, sweetheart. Water went to my family. Pig roast. Crackle is salty, damn good stuff. Okay, I've never been to one. I'm not a big pig eater, to be entirely honest. Not for any other reason that it's just not my thing. I'm usually chicken or steak and somewhat keto. I only like Moscato. Okay, I don't know what Moscato is, but great. And Lisa agrees with Kim. So. Moscato's good. It's not dry. It's a sweeter wine. But okay, so there you go. See, thank you, Kim, for the amount of information. You just taught me something. I've never heard of what Moscato is. I'm giving you a little star. That's what you deserve. So anybody who's nice and adds to it gets a star tonight. I'm glad everybody's here. Okay. So a couple of things, getting down to the things at hand. So all day today, I did a couple of interviews I did an interview on Mark Petroni's radio show, obviously the live stream today, and then the rest of the day was working with the team. We had a deadline of today to get the manuscript, which was really done for the past couple of weeks, but a lot of little tweaks and putting where's the bio page going to be, what's the title page on the inside going to look like, all that sort of stuff. So that was a lot of what we were doing today and setting up a bunch of accounts and all that sort of stuff. Moscato is too sweet. Oh, too sweet. Risa. Hey, what's up, Risa? Risa is the first person amongst, I think, the whole Freedom Convoy group of people. I might be wrong, but I think she's the first one that I helped and successfully orange pilled, brought her into Bitcoin, which I don't talk about much on this stream because you guys don't want to hear about Bitcoin. But now it's so funny. So Risa would come into these spaces that we do, that I go in on Twitter from time to time. And, she was like, okay, a newbie, she knew nothing and whatever. now Risa is like an instructor. Like she's teaching everybody about like mining pools and nodes and how the whole infrastructure works, and it's great. Greetings from Wallaceburg, Ontario. How you doing, Dave? It's good to have you here, brother. Thanks for coming. Wallaceburg. Well, I think I was there recently for some reason. I don't know. Anyways, rings a bell. I might have been driven through there in the truck for something. Blackfi, mulled rum cider. Brenda's having a cider in Alberta Strong. You know what? God, I miss Alberta. You guys, I got to tell you. The only thing I'll say is like the cities in Alberta, like Calgary and Edmonton, I don't know what the hell's wrong with people there. It's like been infiltrated by, like you still have a lot of reasonably strong people, but it's all like low testosterone communists there, especially Edmonton. I don't know what happened to that city. Anyways, apparently it's been like that for a while, but I have no idea, you know. Jim's in North Bay. Good to see you, Jim. Thanks, everybody, for coming here. So today was working with the team, and the team is not here. The team is in Panama and Venezuela, believe it or not, putting together everything they've been working on the cover, on the graphics, on the manuscript, and it's a lot of detail. And we wanted to get every page right, every word right, no orphan words, no orphan paragraphs, pages, all of that sort of stuff. Neo-Marxists have taken over Edmonton and Calgary. Yeah, that's exactly what I saw when I was there. Like, it was crazy. When I was out there, I went to Calgary, Edmonton, Red Deer, which are places that I know pretty well because I think I mentioned before, my uncle and my cousins all grew up. Well, my uncle didn't grow up. My dad's family's from Winnipeg, but my uncle moved. My dad came here. My uncle moved to Calgary, and I think the 60s, if I'm not mistaken, from maybe the 50s or 60s, from Winnipeg to Calgary, and then that whole side of the family grew up in Calgary. So I've been going to Calgary my whole life, and I was just shocked how much it changes. Highway 40 between Sarnia and Chatham. Yeah, I've been there so many times. I've driven there so many times. I'm hoping, like with the book, I'm going to be starting to do a couple little of events, and this has already come up already on Twitter, that like I want to meet everybody that was out there and was doing stuff for the convoy or by the side of the road, because I think I've seen every photograph and every video related to the Freedom Convoy on every stream, just about, because I was going through all this material to try to find a cover, which is what we're going to talk about tonight. And anyways, getting back to it. So yeah, I would love to be able to go to some of the smaller towns, because when I was out west, so like I was saying before, I don't know what's happening in Calgary and Edmonton. Neo-Marxists, all like, I don't know, it's a little crazy what's going on there. But I also was in, where was I? In Lloydminster, Grand Prairie, Alberta, Saskatoon, Medicine Hat. I was in Medicine Hat with Tamara, actually, and stayed at her house. I know a couple other places, and we were in the car, so driving all over Alberta and Saskatchewan back and forth. We were trying to get to Fort McMurray, but we just couldn't fit it in the time frame that we had. And hopefully, if I hear Fort Mac's got some issues lately, but I don't know. Ryan C7, do you think Notley has a real shot in the election in May? I'm hoping to move to Alberta. I'll tell you what I think. The problem is we have conservative parties that don't behave as conservatives. They've got this in their head that this country is a left-wing country, which it's not. It's a right-wing country with some left-wing cities. But they're always catering to the left. And it's not just the party, it's the lobbyists that control the parties that do it. So you end up with conservative parties that are conservative in name only. They're see-no parties. And what happens? They do like what Doug Ford does, right? Doug Ford said, all right, I'm going to be a true conservative, or Aaron O'Toole. Thank God he didn't get elected. I'm going to be a real conservative. Well, he gets in. His policies are more left-wing than the liberals that he replaced, like substantially more left-wing. So then what happens? People who are actually conservative, people who are far more conservative than I am, right? Like I'm in downtown Toronto guy. It's just the way it is, right? We're all kind of products of our environment a little bit. But, you know, I have a lot of friends who are very, very, very conservative. And I see they get so disenfranchised because, you know what, screw it. They promise me they're going to bring my policies forward, and they never do. They promise to become so they can become leaders of the party, and then when it comes to a general election, they get elected, and what do? All of a sudden I have a Liberal Party. And those people just decide, you know what, I'm not going out to vote for them anymore. And what happens? You get a leftist like a Rachel Notley that gets elected. So the reason you get leftist parties in Canada is because the Conservatives are always trying to copy leftist parties. And they lie to their base. And it's so frustrating. I brought that point up so many times within the Conservative Party, but just like, I so freaking hate politics and politicians. They're just the worst. Kim's tripping. Banff, Lake Louise, my favorites. Canmore, Banff, I love it. I think the first time I went to Lake Louise, I think I was 13 or 14. Banff is awesome. I mean, that whole area of Canada is absolutely gorgeous. But I don't know BC. So one of the podcasts I'm going to go on are YouTubers. He's got a channel called Clyde Do Something. And he had been covering a lot of the Freedom Convoy stuff during the convoy. Really nice guy. And I think he's in Vancouver, if I'm not mistaken, or in Vancouver Island. And he said to me, like, well, come do something in Vancouver, do an event. And I know Stacia and a whole bunch of people out there, they're like, come do something. So I said, okay, I just said it now, actually, online. I said, if you put something together, if there's enough people that want to just do something, I'll come out there. I'd love to meet everybody. And that's kind of what I want to do. I want to figure out a way that hopefully the book sells really well. If the book sells really well, then this becomes a lot easier for me to come around and meet all of you face to face, spend a couple of days in your towns or your cities and hang out and just get to know each other a little bit. That for me is rewarding. I know it's not shocking, but yeah, I like to stick to myself a lot, but I'm also kind of a people person. So when I'm around, I like to hang out with all of you, and I just want to thank you all, like, in person. I wish I could have done that when I was watching you all on the screen between, you know, interviews during the convoy. Anyways, Notleys, yeah, whatever. These politicians all make me crazy. My signs are in a lot of the pictures. Oh, okay. Hope one of them is on your cover. Well, Karen by the Rideau, I'm sorry. I don't think so, because I don't think there's not a sign in the picture. You'll see, because it's going to be unveiled on Twitter at 9:25. I put the first post of a picture of the book. And around the same time, since you're in the stream, I'll put it on the screen here so you can see it. I'll just kind of toggle this, and I'll screw it up in the process, but I'll figure it out and I'll get it working, and I'll show it to you and I'll explain it to you. Alberta historically PC, yeah, I would say Alberta's more conservative than PC, and that's exactly the problem. Look, liberals need to have a liberal party, not a communist party, and conservatives need to have a conservative party, right? And that way everybody can say, well, I like a little bit from this one, a little bit from that, and I'll just go with the policies that I like. That's just the way I look at it, but what can you do? Keep on rolling, who's going to join? I guess so. Danielle Smith comes off as different. I'm not an expert in Alberta politics. Wyatt's my go-to guy on that stuff. And Wyatt's telling me, yeah, she was campaigning really hard, not hard right, but, Alberta independence and all that sort of stuff. And then she started backtracking on her policies the minute she won leadership, which is exactly what, like, she didn't do this whole Alberta sovereignty thing or whatever that was. And then she got elected and she said, yeah, we'll work with Ottawa. We're going to file lots of lawsuits. And it's kind of like, well, that's not what you said during the campaign, but I don't know. It is what it is. Does anyone have any ideas why the judge's decision in the motion to dismiss the Peckford travel mandate case is taking so long to be released? For some reason, I think he's trying to decide if it's a moot case because everything has already been lifted, and there's going to be some I don't know. I'm a lawyer, but that's what I've been told. Okay. Yes, that's why the PPC is necessary thing, not to be necessarily elected, but to be an anchor to keep the CCP from going too far left. That's Levitt's boss. 100%. I actually said that to Maxime. Like, look, I'm not, and the Conservative Party doesn't like this, but what can I tell you? I get along with people in different parties. I'm not going to admonish people. You vote for who you think is right. Also, ridings are different and whatever. Like, it's not a cult, right? You like this party one day, you like another party another day. That's good. You can vote for whoever you want. I'm not going to argue with people. So whether they vote CPC or PPC in the federal, or in Ontario if they vote New Blue or CPC, I mean, that's my problem is Doug Ford. He's got to be replaced. I mean, something. But it's always good to have another party that kind of prevents the mainstream party from going off a cliff. And the policies of the PPC are great. I think I agree with most of them. There's a couple of them maybe. I got to see the state of it now. But whatever, that's just life, right? And I think what they want to do is they want to put us into silos, into these little cults, and label you just like the left does. Oh, you're a conservative or you're not a conservative. It's like, screw off. I hate it so much. BC is also amazing. Everything I've seen of BC, it looks gorgeous. I have a cousin. One of my cousins who grew up in Calgary now lives in BC, and I hear nothing about how wonderful it is. Karen, politics ruins everything. Yes, it does. Viva Fry says that quite often, from what I understand or what I've seen, and he's accurate. Okay, I'll get back to the comments in a second. So, the cover for the book. Dave Warren. Were you close with Pat King? Never met him. I've never been in the same room of him. Never the same building. I suppose I've been in the same time zone of him, but I've never met him. How he can testify. Viva Fry is trying to figure out a way he can testify in the inquiry. Well, he has to be summoned. So I received a summons, and if I don't testify, it's a $400 fine every day. So I don't know what to tell him. There's lots of people who want to testify, and the government wants a certain narrative. That's why they chose the people that they did, and we'll see what happens. Although I don't think all the provinces are going to play ball like we saw with Saskatchewan. Okay, anyways, we got 5 minutes. 5 minutes. So I was looking. Let me get back to the cover, and then we'll get back to everything else. And so I think I've seen all. I probably have seen all of you who were standing by the side of the road at some point, just going through all this material. One of the people who has a large stack of pictures that he took there, who ultimately we went with his stuff, took 12,000 pictures there, and there's a certain style. Like, photography for me has always been difficult to, you have art in terms of visual art and paintings and sculptures, but photography is always a little bit difficult, especially nowadays when everything is so digital. But this guy, the way he works his content, he really turns his photography into art. So I kept moving around. I kept looking at other people and talking to other people's stuff and trying to, see who would, because I wanted to use somebody on the ground. I had lots of pictures I took on the ground. I took a picture. Now I'm going to start the wine, by the way. I took a bunch of pictures, especially before I broke my ankle. And I have a bunch of pictures of me on stage, like from my perspective, looking at all of you. And I have some videos where I was panning around all 360 degrees. This is from the boom truck, because every Sunday the idea was every Sunday Tamara, myself, and Chris would go on stage to thank everybody. That became difficult because everybody's being pulled in all sorts of different directions. But I made sure to be there every Sunday. I thought, at the very least, I owed it to all of you to thank you for taking time out of your day. So anyways, I couldn't use any of my photos just because they weren't. I'm not a photographer. Like, I liked photography. I didn't have my DSLR, and even if I did, I'm not the greatest photographer. Not bad. It's like a little bit, if you like sweet wine, if you like sweet, I'm going to say go with La Linda. La Linda Vina. Let's see. Vino Rojo, La Linda Viene de Argentina. Okay. Anyways, this is good if you like sweet wine. If you don't like sweet wine, you're not going to like it, and it's not dry at all. I think that's how you describe it. Okay, so went through all these pictures, everybody, and I kept coming back to Luciano, and he has a private portfolio of pictures he's taken that he hasn't used. Oh, we need help on Vancouver Island. This place is so far left. Well, yeah, that's not news to anybody. I would love to. So finally kept going back and forth to Luciano, and I initially had an idea of picture. You know, we all see the pictures from the central part where the boom truck is. We see 3 trucks on one street, 3 trucks blocking another street, and 3 trucks blocking another Wellington on both sides. And I think they eventually opened up the other street, whatever it's called. I don't know Ottawa that much, so don't really, you know. So initially I was thinking maybe we'll have like the picture of the 3 trucks. However, because I'm a how should we say? How did somebody describe me? Hippity dippity emotional cheese ball. What, Jennifer? You have to let it sit for 20 minutes before you drink it. No, I did that. I did it. I opened the cork before we started, and it's fine. So. You know, I know I'm an amateur, but like, come on, I'm not that much of an amateur. So I thought maybe, you know, we'll take one of those, like you saw that with Andrew Lawton's book. He did the 3 trucks. And I just thought it's too formulaic. And also, because I'm, as somebody called me recently, a hippity-dippity sort of Mr. Positivity, emotional, Mr. Lovey-dovey guy, which... Not always. I can be quite ruthless sometimes, but generally guilty as charged because I try to be positive, as those of you who know watch my early streams. And remember, the whole idea, the branding that I wanted, the communications mechanism to everybody was peace, love, unity, and freedom. So it had to be about people, that the trucks were secondary. The trucks were the tool that we were using to make a statement. But the statement was around people, so I needed to have something that was emotional, something that gripped me and gripped everybody else. And when you'd see it, you would understand, and it would blow a hole in the media's fake narrative and everything they're trying to say in this convoy. What was the picture that we can encapsulate that undermines everything they're saying about all of us and all of us that were in Ottawa? What's that one image? And after, when did we finally find that image? I started working with Luch in May, if I remember correctly, maybe May. Maybe we started talking May, June. And he gave me a login to his portfolio, and I just spent hours looking through it and finding something. And I finally found that image that, again, Mr. Hippity-dippity, emotional, you know, cheese ball who loves people. I saw it, and I'm like, that's it. That, you know, even to this point, starts to give me that sort of emotional thing. All right, so, and then we, you know, started working on it. We had to, you know, adjust the image and all that sort of stuff, and we got it. So today was the day. This was the momentous occasion. We finally had subtitles sorted out. The image was there. We agreed on the font, which I'll explain the font. Well, I'll tell you the font right now. Yeah, and you'll see the font. You'll be like, well, why'd you choose that font? Maybe it's weird. Don't worry, I'm going to show you. We're almost there. Because if you look at, when you see the font, it perfectly subconsciously communicates what we needed. The fact that the edges are not crisp in the font. They're a little rough. And there's texture in the letters of the font. Again, shows that it's unpolished and it's unrefined, which is exactly what the Freedom Convoy was about. Like, this was not a polished corporate, you know, movement that everything is pre-planned and and phony, like a political party, or like these other movements that the political parties are secretly funding behind the scenes. This was the real deal. That's why there were so many issues that we had to deal with, because it was raw. And so we needed a font that communicated the fact that this experience was emotional and it was raw, but it was authentic, and flaws included, because I personally like flaws in people. It's the flaws that make us interesting. Good on you from New Zealand. Oh, Barbara, you have one hell of a prime minister there. And my penny for your thoughts. It wasn't an NGO billionaire like so many others, AstroTurf protests. Yes, exactly. But, we still see a lot of it on the conservative side that aren't coming from these billionaire projects as well. Very wealthy people who still they can't put money into political parties, so they put money into these inauthentic movements that are run by strategists for political parties, and that's why they don't resonate with people. And that's why the Freedom Convoy resonated with people, because we told them from the beginning that we don't want you there. And I tell this story a little bit in the book, and I'll expand on it in these streams and on my Substack. When the political parties started trying to interfere and getting me to adopt, talking points. Hey, we got talking points for you. I'm like, I think we're pretty good. I think we have the whole world looking at us right now. I don't need your talking points. I'm good. But thank you, Conservative Party. Thank you. But thanks, but no thanks. There was a lot of that was going on behind the scene. So much I could write a book about it. Well, I did. Okay, so let me show you. Let me show you what the cover looks like, and you'll tell me. And listen, never written a book before. This is all new, thanks to John Goddard. Last thing I'm going to say before I show you, John Goddard, friend of mine. This is like when Elon Musk and Scott Adams say it's a simulation. I don't know. It's not for me, but I go for coffee with him every day for 4 years. We became friends, met each other through some high-profile people. He was a journalist for 30 years and a published author. And then I wanted to write a book. The Convoy happens, and I'm like, I got to write a book. Wait, I go for coffee with an author every Saturday who's interested in this topic. So it kind of worked out perfectly. All right. So I'm going to show you the image now, and then tell me in the comments what you think. If you like, and if you don't like it, tell me you don't like it. Just be honest. For me, I've said before, the value of positive feedback trends towards 0. I like honesty. So if you don't like something, I want to know that you don't like it. Okay, so let me put myself there. And if I go, I think I can just, no, I need the comments there so I can see them. Yeah, the drums. Okay. So this is it. I can make it so it's good and you can see it. So, all right. So there is your cover for Honking for Freedom by, that's me, by the way, Benjamin BJdichter. And that image, so the back cover and the front cover, that's one picture that wraps around the whole back. And when I saw that picture of the two people hugging, it was, that's what this was about. That's exactly what this was about. This is not about, all the other, it's, Jennifer, can you enlarge it? I can zoom in a little bit. No, because that's the full, maybe I can full screen it for a second. Okay. I hope that's better. The two people hugging, we don't know who they are. Hopefully, I'm sure we'll find out who they are at some point, and they'll say, hey, that's me on the book. But, there's a Peterbilt in the background. There's Canadian flags, and the convoy was about love. And it was about peace and coming together. And unifying and and around the ideas of freedom. And that's what that image communicated to me and still communicates to me. I hope it does for you too. And I also wanted that for the covers because that's what the book is about. The book is not about we touch on a little bit of the problems and the chaos that was going on behind the scenes, but it's a justification, and it's not just a justification. It's an adventure story that talks about from the very beginning in Vancouver and Alberta, where the convoys all started, and it walks through a couple of chapters going across. Then there's chapters of when we're there. There's a chapter on my media strategy. It's quite dense. Well, it's quite dense. It's not a very long book. I mean, it's going to be, I think at last count, 190 pages, 180 pages. So it's something you can get through. It's not a James Clavell book or War and Peace or anything like that. I hope I can make it smaller because I can't see your comments now. I want to see what you guys think. Ashlyn Love. Okay, Woodstock. Like a Woodstock album cover, yeah. Jennifer says, wow, yep, perfect. Okay, I love it. Like Woodstock. The convoys definitely gave me hope. And that's what all those bureaucrats in that commission miss. We did what none of those politicians do, which is we managed to give everybody hope and bring everybody together and get them out of their houses, like the people in Quebec that have been trapped in their homes, right? They finally got out, and what they do? They did exactly what these two people are doing on the cover, and they hugged each other. And it was amazing. Ashlyn, the convoy saved my life wholeheartedly. You get a star for that. I hope so. Good picture. Captured the moment for eternity. And Luciano is on Instagram, by the way. He's got a lot of other similar pictures to this. I'll post a thing on Twitter at some point, and I'll show you where he is. But let me just... it's at his... he did the... Well, I'll do... no, he did that. Well, he did another... he took a picture. I don't know if I can show you guys. He took this picture. This was the second thing that was going to go on the book. I'll see if I can do it on the camera if you can see it. This was going to be the back, but the quality image wasn't really good enough to do it, so we couldn't do much with it. Okay, I'll put the book cover back up in a second, but this was the alternative, but it didn't. It couldn't work technically because we couldn't find the original. But it was this picture of me and Tamara, and that was the day. I think it was the day. Remember, she did that video where she went online and she just broke down in tears, and she's like, "I think I'm going to be arrested and whatever." That was just an excessive amount of stress. That's what you were watching. That was just somebody who was having everybody in the world having access to her and giving her nothing but stress. And you just endure that for a few weeks and you just kind of break down. And that's what that was. But that was, when they came into my room, because I'm Mr. Chill and Mr. Positive, and I'm in a wheelchair, so why get upset? What am I going to do? That was one of the times she came just to have a hug and hang out and vent and relax. And I did my best to calm her down for 10, 15 minutes before she ran out and all that sort of stuff. And it was great. And, I very much love those moments. It was absolutely amazing. But we couldn't get it. What happened to the... did one of you delete the book cover? Anyways, okay. I'll find it in a second. So we couldn't do that for the back, so we were forced to. Let me just find the most recent back cover. There it is. We couldn't end up using that for the back cover, and I thought it would be nice just to take Luciano's picture that wrapped around and just get a full feel for what the whole event was. I think and I hope it does it justice, and I hope you all like the book. I really do. Okay, so comments. Levitt's boss saying the convoy made me proud to be Canadian for the first time in a long time. Great point. And you know what? Just to expand on that, Levitt's. By the way, I love the Peppy meme. The second interview I did when I got to, I don't know if we mentioned this in the book. I can't remember. There's a lot of content we had to remove. Again, Substack. I'm going to expand on this stuff for quite a while because there's a lot of other stories that we couldn't get in there. But the second interview I did in Ottawa, I can't remember who the first one was. It wasn't Gad, but it was it Andrew Lawton? I don't remember. But anyways, the second one, I remember specifically, she, I think her name, I don't remember her name. It's a French name. I have her in my signal. Louise, maybe? She was in Quebec. She's French-Canadian. And she was a reporter for a French news publication. And there's no pictures inside the book. I'm going to explain that in a second. There's more pictures, but I'll tell you that in a second. So she called me for an interview, and I said, yeah, okay, fine, we'll do it. And we arranged the time because, as you know, I was very picky, and I wouldn't do fake news media. I wouldn't do people who would quote mine me, or take stuff out of context. I had to be very careful because I knew it was a very delicate situation we were in. So she told me how much she loved all that sort of stuff. Fine. So we did this interview, and she says to me at the interview, and you talk about, Levitt's when you say it made you restore your faith in Canada. I said to her after our interview when we shut down, and I said, so what do you think about the what's your feeling? What's your sense? Because she was interviewing me the entire time, so I wanted to ask her what she thought. And she said to me, I couldn't believe this. She says, you know what? I used to be a separatist. I was a Quebecois separatist until 2 weeks ago when you guys started with the convoy. And I saw all the Canadian flags and all the trucks coming across Canada and everybody unifying together. And she said, the first thing I did is I bought my first Canadian flag. And I'm not a separatist anymore. So that's how we solve the problems, right? And it was so I don't know. I felt like we really accomplished something. I felt like we really did something for Canada in that moment. And it sounds cheesy, I know. It sounds hippity-dippy, cheesy, whatever. Sorry, but I'm not afraid of my emotions, and it really touched me. It really did. It was great. Agencia Canada Español says, all my friends turned their backs to me for being against the narrative. I thought I was the only weirdo. Well, guess what? I think everybody thought that. And you notice slowly over time, people are starting to listen. It takes time. It's just like there was a lot of infighting with people that were running the convoy. I tried mostly to stay out of it, and I think I pretty much did. And I got attacked because I was the one guy who said no to stupid ideas. What am I going to do? I'm not going to sacrifice everybody who's on the ground. I don't want them to get in trouble. So I was like, no. Anyways. So, and there was a bunch of people that were trying to smear me for a bunch of really stupid reasons. And so I just figured, you know what? I'm going to back away. Time heals all wounds, right? And in a vacuum, people start to miss those that they put trust in and they put their faith in. And, some of them, we would have these moments of friction, and then we would be great, and then there'd be friction, and then we'd be like, so close. Tamara and I never. Tamara and I always were solid, and maybe just because we knew each other, we've known each other for so many years. And, in the past few weeks, they've started to reach out to me, and I've started to reconnect with a bunch of them, and everything's good. Everything's really good. And I think, my idea, that axiom, that time heals all wounds, has helped. And I'm hoping that this book will help as well. And it'll help to heal a lot of wounds. And I'm hoping it'll reach some of those people, like Agencia, like you say, people that turn their backs on you. That's who this book is for. Everybody's going to get something out of it. You're going to get something out of it because it'll give you so much more additional context. So you'll know what was going on, and you'll know some of the backstories that were really, because it was crazy every day. But it's also for people you know in your life that did not support the convoy. That's who this book is for. Will it convert them or change their mind? Maybe some of them. Some of them no, of course. But I think anybody who's open-minded or claims to be open-minded actually believes it. And if they read this story, which is what it is, it's an adventure story. I think it's going to make them realize that, yeah, maybe the fake news, the so-called media, did do nothing but lie to me. Okay, now let me get you some of your comments. I'm halfway through my first glass of wine and my Smirnoff Ice, and I'm not even drunk yet. By the way, Jennifer, I don't know if you're having a space tonight. Let me know. Maybe I'll jump in before I crash tonight. Pat, I keep forgetting Pat. Love it, says it all. Thank you, Pat. Agreed. Jennifer, perfect. It's perfect. It can't be perfect. I mean, it's close to perfect, right? But Kathy, Irene, Lamy to LA. Wait, are you in LA? Is that what you're saying? I don't know. Yes, Sonia, that is the cover of the book. That's the final cover, and that is the subtitle, which we really struggled with as well. But I do think that this gave us all a lot of hope. And Christine Anderson, that the European parliamentarian, she said, I needed hope as well. And the Canadian truckers gave me hope. So, yeah, I think mission accomplished. And so it is what it is. Amanda. Hey, Amanda. How you doing? Oh, by the way, Amanda, yeah, I'm not streaming over Instagram. I'm told that I should be just doing short little reels and just streaming to the main feeds, YouTube, Facebook, and Locals. I'm not streaming on Locals today because Locals won't allow me to, at least I don't know how to display a picture at the same time. So for everybody on Locals, I will make it up to you. I promise we're going to do something special just for you. Okay, Dave, do you think there might be a Convoy 2 and they bring back the mandates? Okay, so I don't think, like, I know there's always people doing stupid things. That's just the way it is, right? Right now, we have the commission. The government needs a boogeyman. Having a convoy would be the stupidest thing humanly possible that anybody in Canada could do, would be to have another convoy. Not right now. And I don't know that we'll need one because, look, after I left Ottawa on the 12th, came back to Toronto, hopped on a flight, went to Miami because I was speaking at Bitcoin Miami, and I wanted to go see my parents because I was alone here in Canada, freezing my ass off with a broken ankle, and I couldn't walk. So why would I stay here instead of going down south, right? And I went there, and I also went to Colombia, and I made a couple of stops while I was traveling. They call Trudeau in Latin America now, they call him Cara Negra Fidelito, which is blackface little Fidel. He is a joke. He is toilet paper all over the world. The only place that blackface Trudeau is not racist toilet paper is in the progressive utopias of Ottawa, downtown Toronto, and I guess downtown Vancouver and parts of Montreal. Everywhere else, people have a brain. Those areas, I don't know what's wrong. It just, the wires don't connect, you know? It is what it is. So, no, I don't think so. And if anybody is planning anything, please stop. Please just stop. Right now, we have a commission, which is not entirely unprecedented, but what the government did in freezing all our bank accounts, that's unprecedented, and they have to answer for it. And everybody across the spectrum is really worried about it. So whatever. Sonia, he took great pictures, Luciano. Yeah, his pictures are amazing. So what we're going to do, somebody asked me I forget who it was. I apologize. Are there going to be other pictures in the book? So no. What we're going to do is on Friday, the website where you can pre-order the book, like the pre-sale. There's going to be a couple of things in there, and one of the things, obviously, you'll be able to click and pre-order the book. Fine, that's the main goal. But there's going to be a gallery, and I actually have to work on this tomorrow. And in that gallery, I want to help give Luciano credit, because he was, firstly, so embarrassing. You know, you meet these people, and they're so gracious. They're like, wow, they're like, you changed my life. You did so much for me. And I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, I tried to do it for all of us. And we couldn't have done it without you. You know, it wasn't just me. It was all of us. And all of us means you as well. Like, you were there too. So we're equal partners in this. You know, we just took on different roles. Anyways, so what I want to do is I want to help give him credit for the amazing pictures that he took. He is a photographer, obviously, and a very good one. So we're going to put a small gallery on the landing page where you can pre-order the book. And that gallery will be many of Luciano's pictures. We'll have a small grouping of his pictures. And then there will be a link to the rest of his work. So if you like them enough, you can go and I guess purchase some of his pictures, or however he does it, right? Because he's very gracious to allow me to purchase this image for the purpose of the book, and I feel indebted to him for it, just because that pictures, every time I look at it, it gets to me. So, anyways, it is what it is. There should be statues and monuments dedicated to the convoy. I think there should be something. There should be definitely something. Is it a statue? I don't know. That's like a little bit 18th century to have a statue, but something, some sort of, some way to commemorate the moment. Pam says, the pic of the two of you is my favorite. Oh, the one of me and Tamara. And you know that we did that like just on a whim. She came, she hung out, she was stressed. She sat down for, 10 minutes. She was, this is going on. I'm like, yeah, I'm dealing with this and whatever. And it was kind of like, yeah, it's going to be okay. Don't worry. Don't stress out too much. And she's really positive. She's got really good energy. So we're always really good at resetting each other. That's why it's really kind of tough not being able to talk to her for 8 months for the first time. Like I've never, and there's people around here who don't want us to talk to each other, but that's a whole other story of political shit rats. But that's another story. So, anyways, she was there and she's like, "Oh yeah, I got to go back out and I got to go to where she was going to," and I'm like, "Hey, come." Let's have a picture. Let's have a hug. I want a picture with you. We haven't, because we're doing pictures with so many other people and talking to so many other people. We're like, hey, we haven't had a picture together. And she's like, oh yeah, we have to do. So she comes, she gives me a hug and whatever. And it was, and she started to tear up when she finally let go, and we had another hug, and then she left. So that's what. It was an emotional moment. It really was. It was. There were so many of them. There really were. It was great. Tao says, I thought this was for tomorrow morning, but glad to see you alive. Yeah, I'm going to do something tomorrow. Tomorrow morning, we'll just start making fun of the clown show. That's the the commission hearing. Anne Elizabeth Strange, whatever works, I guess. I guess you're responding to somebody, I don't know. Risa, it's perfect. I love the trucks blurred in the background. Yeah, I mean, because the whole symbol, for me, the symbolism of it was the trucks were secondary, right? The primary thing was people and our freedom and loving one another. And it was amazing. So, there you are, Karen. Any pictures inside the book? No, the pictures will be on the website, so we will. BJD Online, send a copy to Viva Fry. His partner in crime, Robert Barnes, does a periodic book review session with their community. That's a good point. I will I speak to Viva's brother. Actually, I can send him a text message. And let's just let Viva know the book's coming out. Will do. Sonia, did she speak English? Did who speak English? I don't know. I'm just catching up with you. I'll scroll through all of them. Nice. Yes, the convoy has made Canadians love each other again, regardless of where we live. Yes, and that's really important because all the angst and baggage, like I always had that with my family in Alberta. They would always say that, Toronto thinks it's the center of the world, and Quebec thinks, everybody's got to do what they think. It's like, no, that's what the politicians say. Nobody thinks that way. Nobody in Toronto dislikes Alberta, unless they're, the Trudeau cult, which there are very few of them. All of us love Banff and love Alberta and the Alberta countryside and the mountains and the culture and the cowboy culture of Alberta and Saskatchewan. Like, we don't have a lot of it here. If you travel in Latin America a lot, people don't realize most of Latin America is like Texas, especially Mexico. Mexico is all Texas. It's all charros everywhere, ranches and everywhere. It is Texas. It's not what Central Casting in California says. And so we have a small, I'll call it the cowboy culture. It's so funny. I remember we were doing on this speaking tour I was on in Alberta. It was so awesome. It was so amazing. We had like a Q&A session afterwards, and it was kind of political in nature. We're talking about kind of what's happening in the political parties and entryism, and the Conservatives are suffering from institutional creep just as much as the Liberals are. So there was this guy there. God, I loved him. It was so amazing. He was like cookie cutter rancher, like big belt buckle, big cowboy hat. Like the guy there's nothing other than a rancher, but he was so cool. No bullshit, direct between, he says to me, all right, I'm going to ask you a question and I want a direct answer. No bullshit. I'm like, you're my type of guy, and you're the type of guy that politicians start to form a puddle of urine around their feet when you speak. Love that. I love that sort of strength. It was amazing. It was something I love about, the prairie provinces. I miss that. I wish we had more of that. I mean, Ontario gets a little bit like that when you get far enough out of the city as well. But in the big cities, it's just, you don't have that sort of character. All you have is weakness, and it just infuriates the hell out of me. Okay, Kiss Chunky, this is amazing. What a way to affect change. You guys are so sweet. Thank you. I'm still, Tao says, I'm still persona non grata in my major friend circles. Then you know what? They're not your friends. And we all learned that lesson at some point in our life, what real friends are. And often real friends are not what we think they are. And I've learned that lesson. Everybody does. Dave, for the longest time, the churches that I was involved with were supporters of the mandates. Some are still in fear of COVID-19. It's so sad. I don't know what it is with religious organizations. Synagogues, same thing. Churches, synagogues. I don't think mosques so much, to be quite honest. You got to give them props, But, I've seen a lot of that. And I hear you, and it's infuriating. Lori is asking why certain people are not testifying. It's up to the commission to testify. And certain people have decided to vocally say and be honest that they had very, very small roles in it, with Tom. I mean, Tom showed up after I broke my ankle. And, he was supposed to do one thing and he ended up doing, I don't know. I explain it in the book. There's a chapter in the book called Tom Marazzo Calls a News Conference that explains that. But anyways, the commissioner just decided who to subpoena, and that's it. And I guess what they're doing is they're getting people who they think are honest and forthwith and will just say the truth and maybe say the wrong thing in a couple of cases. I don't know. I'm just going to tell the truth, and I don't really care who likes it or dislikes it. Like the subtitle, the trucker convoy that gave us hope, so true. And it still does. That's why it lives rent-free in the minds of leftist politicians, because they know everybody in Canada is still emotionally attached to this. So, yeah, I agree. The convoy brought us so many Canadians together and showed us who was not for Canada. Yep, definitely, 100%. Karen says, oh, now I just lost everybody. Karen says cheers, because I'm not a big drink. I got to be honest. I'm a little bit tipsy. I've had half a glass of wine and a half a Smirnoff, and I'm a little tipsy. You see what a loser I am? Anyways. Still don't know why Tamara Leach got arrested. So, I think from what we understand, they were trying to pick off the leaders, and this is what police officers I'm friends with who deal with this stuff on a regular basis told me. So when they're trying to break up any sort of mass disruption, not necessarily protests, but protests or riots or anything like that, what they'll do is they'll try to pick off the leadership, the people who they think are the ones who are organizing everything. And they'll pick them up, they'll arrest them, and in the hopes that will cause the crowd to disperse or make it easier for them to disperse the crowd. I wasn't on the street. I was in a wheelchair because I broke my ankle like a loser, because nobody in Ottawa assaulted any of the sidewalks, despite the fact that the street was completely open. This whole nonsense, oh, you couldn't move around. Like, the street in front of my hotel was completely, there were cars parked in legal parking spots, and some of them were trucks, but traffic was flowing in both directions, so I don't know what the problem was. Anyways. So yeah, they picked off, I think they picked off Tamara, or at least they tell me they think they picked off Tamara and Chris because they were accessible. They were on the street. I was not accessible, so therefore I was not priority. There were so many other people. So Danny Bulford was also picked up, but not until he went out on the street. Then he was picked up, and it was just catch and release. They picked him up, and they started picking up people and releasing them, picking up people and releasing them. And they're going to try to make examples out of one or two people to scare everybody else off, right? That just seemed what it is. Sonia says, beautiful, love it. Jennifer, you're wrong. It's perfect. Okay, well, thank you, Jennifer. You're as sweet as always. Big Mama, only people against the convoy directly or indirectly require liberal money. There is a lot of that, 100%. There's a lot of people in Ottawa that... can I suck off the teat of the Liberal Party? Is that politically correct? Teat? That's British, I think. There's a lot of that, so 100%. Kim's tripping. There's one on the 22nd, and in Toronto, I think it's a bad idea. Yeah, so there are a lot of people that get money to work as informants, and they're usually people who have a lot of debt and have a lot of problems. That's who, the way it works in Ontario specifically, the largest intelligence bureau in Ontario is the OPP, by far. They have the largest intelligence division. And so what they do is they'll work with officers and get officers to act as handlers for people. This is that book, The Weasel, A Double Life in the Mob, explains in somebody who was an informant in 249 cases. And he was in Ontario, so he was working with the OPP. That's where it kind of lays it all out. And so they'll find people, kind of like cults. Cults are always looking for people who are lost. The progressive cults are, for example. That's why they, blue hair and green hair. They're people that are just lost and lonely and miserable, right? So they look at people that are destitute, they have lots of debt, or they have an alcohol addiction or drug addiction or stuff like that. They're just in kind of the worst possible state, but they know information on people, or they can get information on people. And they become informants. And they'll become an informant for a day. They'll become an informant for a week. Or sometimes they'll become an informant for 6 months, where they'll infiltrate, truckers or convoy supporters, try to get them all wrangled up and say, we have to have another convoy. This is what we need and whatever. And some of the people will fall for it and they'll go, and that becomes an intelligence operation. We saw that a little bit in the United States. Remember with the governor of Michigan, whatever her name is, that the guys from the FBI, I mean, most of the people that were planning it were FBI informants. That's why. That's how this all works. So I wouldn't trust any of it, and I would stay as far away from it as possible. We have something that doesn't happen often. We have a commission. Is it flawed? Yeah, but the justice has made some indications and made some signals that, hey, we are here not for your personal emotional state. We are here to figure out, did the government violate its statute, right? So and that's not how he worded it, but that's what he was getting at. Anyway, so Laurie says the convoy served its purpose. It brought people together and exposed so many lies. And it really destroyed it exposed the reputation of blackface around the world. So again, there's some, silos in Canada where people just, I don't know, there's this echo chamber where information can't penetrate, but the rest of the world understands it. Ken by the Rideau, are you a dual citizen? No, I was born in Canada and I'm Canadian, and that's it. So I'm not... I've never been a citizen of any other country. I mean, I've lived in other countries for periods of time, like shorter periods of time, but no, I'm only a citizen of Canada. And my family's been here my grandmother's family was my great-grandfather on my mom's side. This is weird. This is how life changes. Was a colonel in the German army in 1895, and a rabbi. I don't know. I'm pretty I'm as secular as they come, really. But just to go show how quickly society will change. And what I got worried about is how things changed during that period of history. That's what's been going on in Canada. But instead, it was people who either had certain religious beliefs that they didn't want to get vaccinated, didn't want to get the cerveza sickness medicine, I'm on YouTube, for whatever reason, or people who just wanted to have their own bodily autonomy and freedom. And they're doing exactly to the people who were skeptical about what was going on is exactly what happened 100 years ago. And it's shocking that there's people who just... they don't understand the lessons of history. They don't understand, I'm very secular, so I don't get into this stuff too much. But, all these Holocaust museums around the world, they're not for Jews. They're for everybody else. So they know your group can be targeted as well. And I said to a friend of mine who's a pastor in Canada about a year ago, we were talking about that, and he said, it's really concerning some of the attitudes that you see going on in Canada. I personally don't care. Nothing bothers me. I let people talk. I'm a free speech absolutist. I want to know who the crazies are so I can confront them because I have no fear of confrontation. But he said, I'm really worried about some of the rhetoric. And he said he was worried about some of the rhetoric, the anti-Semitic rhetoric. And I said, you know what? I'm not worried about the anti-Semitic rhetoric. I'm worried about the Christians. That's who's being targeted right now. And there might be a lot of you in Canada, but you are definitely at the end of a spear from a whole bunch of nefarious groups from all, let's say, foreign entities, I guess, if you will, using Christians as political pawns, because that's really the bedrock. That's the core of, we're a Judeo-Christian country, right? So if you take out the majority, you take out the Christians, you own the country. And I said, it's you guys I'm worried about, and we need to be defending you right now. So anyways, too much about that stuff. I don't like to get into the religion too much. Everybody believe what you believe, and I support you, and I love you all for it. And whatever. Where can we purchase the book? You'll be able to go to the website that will be launched on Friday. I'll be posting the domain. You'll be able to go there, click on it. You'll be able to pre-order the book. And when it ships, I'll let everybody know when it ships when we do the launch event. It will be shipping before the conclusion of the EMAC, the commission. I'm not going to tell you anything more than that right now, but I'll tell you later on. You'll find out. Karen, that was mean. Okay, that was great. Jennifer, not sure. Well, I can put this on here. Not sure I'm doing a space tonight, likely tomorrow. Okay, I'll join you tomorrow. K9 says, Kellyanne Wolf. I hear that name. I don't know who that is, but I've heard that name a whole bunch of times. From what I heard is doing a convoy too. Don't do a convoy. Stop with the convoys. You know what the other thing is? I understand it comes from a good place. The good place it comes from is this was a significant moment in Canadian history, and I think it was a significant moment in the lives of so many of us, and we want to relive that experience. We're never going to be able to relive it. So we can relive different experiences. And that's why I want to go out and meet as many of you as possible. That for me is a way to relive the experience. But the experiences itself, I remember we were on stage one time. This was, I think, the second week, if I'm not mistaken. And the pastor from Quebec was giving his sermon, and some woman passed out. And, so what's funny about it is the personal injury lawyer who is representing Sexy Lee, he said, paramedics couldn't get around Ottawa. Okay, firstly, we had a woman pass out in front of the stage. I think she was dehydrated or something like that. Paramedics were there within 3 minutes. And do you know anybody who broke their ankle during the convoy? Because I know somebody, and there were paramedics in the hotel to wrap me up within 45 minutes. So I don't know where he's getting. There were no paramedics or ambulances, because there were. Okay, I know I'm well behind the comments. I'm sorry, I'm catching up. Tao, I don't know. Kim's tripping. It's just a rumor. I hope it's just a rumor. That's great. That's about another convoy. No more convoys. Forget convoys. That's done. It's done for. Let's get through. Let's one thing at a time. Let's get through the commission, and let's hand the government its ass. Right? Is that a good way to put it? Libor, Joseph Libor. Can't wait to read the book. One thing I promise you. We really worked hard on this, and I've never written a book. John has, and we'll just say it was very much a learning experience. You can't put it down. At least I know we've had some test readers, and a couple of the test readers told me, at least the ones that I know that I'm friends with, they got through it in 2 settings. They were going to read a chapter, and then boom, one chapter. Next, they couldn't put it down. I'm hoping you have the same experience. So tell me, let's do some follow-up and let me know what you think about it. And also, you know what I need to know is after you read the book, you're probably gonna have lots of questions. Tell me the questions. I will answer them in Substack. That's what I'm going to do the Substack articles about. So I'm looking for your input. I'm going to do my best to give you guys all the information, all the context as possible. One of the things I talk about in the daily live stream is the people who sabotaged the convoy. I don't really get into that in the book. We put a little, droplets and kernels in the book that might make you think about it if you've been following that, but that's not the purpose of this. The purpose of this book is for you to read the story and feel proud of this story and want to give it to all the people who didn't understand what happened in Ottawa. Matthew Furry, I call him Furry because he looks like a furry, said they closed the Rideau Center for 24 days because of microaggressions. Yeah, it was so weird. So we got there, the Rideau Center was open, everybody's respectful because, listen, truckers, despite what these people think, because they've never met a trucker, they think a trucker is, central casting, right? Like some trucker horror movie from the 70s. It's a pretty regulated industry. So yeah, some of them they're very independent. There's no question. But they also understand, like we now have ELDs. It's become very corporatized. You have to deal with lots of paperwork and customs brokers and customs work and PARS numbers and stuff. Like there's processes that truckers need to deal with and regulation. They're not stupid people. They're probably smarter than most people who work in cubicles. But this Matthew Furry is educated by movies, so he has no idea. So anyways, everything was fine. People were going into the Rideau Center for one reason. Tim Hortons. They're going in there for coffee every morning. There was a lineup for like a half hour, so people would go in and they buy like 10 coffees for a whole bunch of people. And a couple of people would use the washroom, but it wasn't, it wasn't overly used. And the Rideau Center was open. Everything was great. And then 2 or 3 days later, they closed it. I remember saying, the fuck are they closing it for? Where are we going to get coffee now? Everything was fine. Like the guys who owned Tim Hortons must have been pissed. They've never been so busy. Like it was just, that is the catastrophic damage that these socialists, these social engineers who think they can determine how business operates, that's the damage that they do. This is why we need to return to the free market. And all those people in government all need to be fired. All of them. Get rid of them. We don't need them. Get rid of them. Fire them. And that he's running for, he's counselor? Or he's running for counselor or whatever. Like, it's such garbage in politics. Okay, Dave. It would be a cold day in hell when Alberta gives up beef for bugs. Amen, brother. Amen. And I got to tell you, like, I got to get back out west. And I got to see some of you guys. And have some real steak. Anyways, Tom, the government of Alberta and Saskatchewan definitely don't love Trudeau, according to day one of the, I call it EMAC. Yes, and the thing is, that's interesting about that, is how many more provinces are going to stick their neck out for Trudeau. As I said on Mark Petroni's show today, everybody who attaches themselves to Trudeau now looks like an idiot. He's one of those people, he's chaos, and he brings down everybody around him. And there's now people in the Liberal Party that are just saying, I'm done with him. I'm done with him ruining my reputation. Because he ruins the reputation of everybody around him. Another person who does that is that idiot, the Diagolon idiot, Jeremy. Has been my troll for like 4 years. And when out of his way, he supports freedom, goes out of his way to destroy the reputation of myself and other people in Ottawa who are just trying to make all of this work. Like, hey, can you come on board for once and just not be a total dick? But no, he kicked it, and now he kicks the crap out of his girlfriend, pulls a gun on him, on somebody who tried to intervene. So he's thrown in jail for it now. So what does he do? Oh, I'm being silenced for free speech. I'm like, so okay, so we can add the fact that he's a fraud to the list of garbage that he is. Like, I don't know what people see in him. It doesn't make sense. Okay, Lisa. Did she speak English? Was the reporter you spoke to, someone thought it was Alexa Lavoie? That's how you spell her name. I didn't understand the question, Lisa. I should actually reach out to Alexa. I haven't spoken to her since maybe a month after the convoy. Lisa thought that too. I don't understand the context of the question. I'm almost at the end, so I'm gonna catch up really quickly. I totally buy that book. Lisa, thank you, Lisa. I love you. Please tell other people the same thing, because this was a lot of our lives put into this thing. The Cowboys and the Horses at Coots is the epitome of Alberta culture. I got to tell you, Pam, when I saw that, it was so amazing. It was so good. It was, for me, like the best moment in Canadian history, and my American friends fucking loved it. It was so amazing. I think that was a big part of why you started to see Americans draping Canadian flags on their trucks coming across the border, because that became the common culture that Canada and the U.S. have, is that Western cowboy culture, and you could see it in full effect. It was truly amazing. I love that. It was great. We need a rancher cross-examining the Ottawa residents at the commission. Yeah, the rancher to cross-examine. Yeah, 100%. Pam, yep, my friends, but I have to replace. Okay, fine. Yes, it was hilarious. I drove straight to the Rideau Center, parked there each day, no days. Yeah, okay, so Karen, you were there. You were there in the beginning. The Rideau Center was fine. So, and then apparently they were issuing, because they implemented a state of emergency, any business that stayed open was issued a fine of something like $150 a day or something like that. And there was a video I posted today that, thanks to Grumpy Tony, who's awesome. He's a farmer from Saskatchewan, a good buddy. A video that somebody sent to him, a girl who was working in some shop, that the media was going around to all the businesses scaring people, saying, oh, these truckers are extremists. It's very dangerous. You should shut down and not come to work and whatever. Like, honestly, the media are such garbage, and I am going to eviscerate them in my testimony. I'm going to put an end to the fake news media for good in Canada in my testimony. That's my goal. So surprised it was closed when the canal, 100%. To get some beaver tails was swamped apparently from what I heard. That reminds me what happened to Tom Quiggin. I saw he had a podcast during the Convoy, but he went silent after. Yes, so I used to produce Tom Quiggin's podcast. I posted in my Twitter another podcast I produced. We released an hour before. That's why I had to start for 9 o'clock. Not on record. So, if you're looking for who created the logo of the Quiggin Report and branded the Quiggin Report and did all the editing and all that sort of stuff, that was me. And so Tom and I worked on that for a few years. And we went through the Convoy experience. He has a very large portfolio of work, and he has so many other projects that he's working on. And we got to the point where, I got the impression he felt like, okay, we've done what we can with a podcast, at least in his mind. And there's some other projects that he wanted to focus his time on. And I support him on that. And if he decides he ever wants to go back to podcasting, there's a platform there, and he can always continue. Big fan of Tom Quiggin. Love him. And he was very helpful in the book, by the way. He was instrumental. And if you haven't read his book, check out his book. His book's different. He talks more about Trudeau's violation and how he handled everything. This book is the adventure story. And I promise you, and I'm not biased. Most of it is me, but not all of it. There's a number of chapters that I'm not even in it. It's the stories of other people that we wanted to get into that was important. What type of wine? Merlot? I don't know. It's old vines. Malbec. Is Malbec a type of wine? I don't know. That's what the label says. It's a Malbec. What's a Malbec? I don't know. I have no idea. I know nothing about wine. But it's actually not bad. It's actually not too bad. I usually like things really sweet, so it's not. Okay. Tom Quiggin. Who is Tom Quiggin? Tom Quiggin is Canada's. There's an episode. We went down to New York together, and he did an interview on James Altucher's podcast. And I was trying to explain the way I brand him with the Americans is he is Canada's real-life Jack Ryan. So he was a Seeking operator when he was younger, and he became an intelligence analyst after, as he explained to me, a Seeking operator is not a very good or wise career over the long term, and he became an intelligence analyst and was doing that ever since, and then went independent and stuff. Same with the Coots person from you know what? Maybe if we do something in Alberta, I should go to Coots. I'd like to meet some of those guys. I'm hearing all this stuff about the government's claims of guns and guns charges, and somebody's telling me it's all bogus. They tried to do that with us in Ottawa. Somebody tried to plant a truck with guns, and we called the police, and numerous times until they would act. And then I think Danny took care of it, or the guys at one of the hotels, and then it just kind of died and disappeared. BJ, did you ever hear from Marcus Ray during the convoy? He claimed he was there, but Veterans for Freedom. No, what Veterans for Freedom say about Marcus Ray is completely true. I've never heard of that guy. The first time I heard of him was in Colombia. And I'm hearing about this guy. I'm like, who the fuck's this guy? Oh, he was at the Convoy. I'm like, no, he wasn't. Never met him before. So I think he's an informant. He's got a few hundred. Well, everything Tom said was accurate. He's got a few $100,000 in debt. That's like the ideal candidate to be an informant for the government. And so I think that's. And once once Veterans for Freedom was vocal about it, I tried to be vocal about it. I was communicating with a bunch of people out west. A bunch of us were trying to alert people. People realized what he was, and that whole thing just died down. There are three. Okay, here we go. Liz, there are 3 men from Alberta charged with mischief under $5,000 from the Coutts border blockade. Court is November 4th. They face up to 10 years in prison. Oh, for fuck's sakes, just using to make a statement on their part. Yeah. So where is your conservative government in Alberta now, right? So you got a premier now who is conservative establishment, which is, for me, red flags. Why? Because I know many people in the conservative establishment, and I have friends in there who agree with me and with you. What's she doing about that? I think maybe they should ask her. And she's going to give... Don't let her get away with, oh, well, now I'm not intervening in the court system. No. It was manipulated, and you need to ensure that it's not manipulated. Put an end to it now, and don't take no for an answer. Yeah, this I know why, Karen. I don't want to say why because I don't want to say anything. It's not negative about them. It's just there's some problems, and a lot of these groups have been funded by basically political establishment, which is there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes. So I don't want to get into it because I don't want to make more people get angry at me. I want to do love. Let's do peace and love, and all get together, right? School stopped teaching real history and replaced it with neo-Marxism. Yeah, that's been going on for a while. You get a star, Pam. Can I buy your book with Bitcoin? Ugh. Yes, not yet, though. You will be able to, but not initially. Just because we're kind of limited in terms of the platforms we can use. I was trying to make that a key thing because you'll notice on the back cover there is the word Bitcoin because that's 2 chapters in the book. Because we did raise $1.2 million in Bitcoin, something like that, at least at the price at that time. And then I ended up speaking at the Bitcoin conference. And, in Miami at the Bitcoin conference, it was amazing. Because the hall that I was on a panel with, I was on a panel with Luke and Svetsky, and it was amazing. It was the only panel in that hall. It was a big hall. It held... 2,000, 3,000 people. It was a standing room. All the seats were taken up. All around the hall, people were standing. It was one of those halls you could barely see to the back. That's how far it was. And when I got on stage, it was called Wartime Bitcoin. You can search it in YouTube. Just search Wartime Bitcoin, and you can watch the panel. And you don't really capture it on camera, but it's burned into my brain watching it from the stage. When I said, I'm Benjamin Dichter, I'm from the Canadian Freedom Convoy, uproars in applause. Everybody stood up. And when you see the camera footage, you only see like the 4 people that didn't stand up. It's frustrating, but the whole room just got up and applaud. And this is people... Bitcoin Miami is mainly people from all over the U.S., a lot of people from Europe and Latin America. All of them know the truth of the Freedom Convoy. All of them. Everybody in Florida that I met, everybody understood, and we are their heroes. Canadians are now their heroes for standing up to the government. Like so many times people were like, thanking Canadians for having the courage to stand up. It was, it's pretty amazing. Maybe I missed it. How did you break your ankle? I was walking from I went to the Ark Hotel to scream at Keith because he totally screwed us on something, and I guess he didn't mean to do it, so whatever. But these things happen. So I left my computer there. I went back to my hotel, and I realized my computer's my life. So it's my business, my everything. So I left my computer. So I went back, and it was minus, 20, 30, super cold. And in front of the EDC building, I wasn't the only one who slipped. Apparently, everybody who was walking by there was falling that night. And I just fell a certain way. And instead of, rolling my ankle this way, I snapped it forward and back. And I tell that story in the book, actually. So read the book. It gets into more detail. So nothing cool, nothing exciting. And that was the day. Everybody thought I broke my ankle in the car accident. No, the car accident was the day before. Rough couple of days, but you know what? Just forge ahead and you stay positive. It's just, hey, there are bumps in the road. And you just move. So I broke my ankle. They carried me into the hotel. They threw me onto the couch in the Ark, and I was like, okay, where's my cell phone? I'm like, why? I'm like, I have a bunch of emails I got to respond. I got some meetings tomorrow. I got to figure out if I have to rejig them and reorganize them and all that sort of stuff. So that's how the whole convoy was. It was nonstop, just, at least for me, getting through tasks and getting through problems and problem solving. And I wish I could have been on the street at the dance parties. I heard some people that had Gypsy Kings and some salsa music and whatever. I would have loved to have been out salsa dancing in the middle of downtown Ottawa in the cold at the biggest party in Canada's history. That would have been amazing. I wish but what are you going to do? I had work to do anyways. Real question from Jennifer. Whatever happened to the good old Riot Act? Why wasn't it used? Wait, I know. Yeah, exactly. Jennifer, I love you, babe. You're the best. By the way, Jennifer and James hold a Twitter space regularly. And what I love about it is it's very respectful. It doesn't matter what your opinion is. It doesn't matter what party you support. Everybody's opinions are welcome, and it's courteous. And Joseph Rampart does the same thing. He has a very similar vibe in his room. And I go in rather frequently just because everybody's super nice, super supportive. Jennifer's room tends to focus more on, not always, but there's a more bias than Joseph's room on the cerveza sickness medicine, and because Jennifer was injured by it. And then Joseph is more broad politics, but both of them are just, we're going to be respectful of everybody, and we're not going to attack people who have differing opinions. And I think we need more of that, and it's great. So I love going in there and participating. Lori, the government also asked hotels to raise rates and booked empty rooms. Yeah, I remember that because we were trying to find places. We had to move. I don't mention this in the book. Tamara and I needed to move from the Ark Hotel to the Sheraton. Why? Because the Ark Hotel was getting death threats of Tamara and myself and other people. And so there's your tolerant lefties calling in, we're going to kill you. That's, it is what it is. Okay, I'll tell you. Yes. So Tao says Jeremy is in prison here in Saskatchewan in Canada with a warrant pending a firearm. Yeah, he kicked the crap out of his ex-girlfriend, and when somebody tried to intervene, he pulled a gun on him. You're going to get arrested in every country for that, right? So don't cry me the blues about your free speech because that's fraudulent. And I'm not going to get too much into this, but because I don't really want. I ignored him this entire time because I don't really care. But long before the convoy, one of my podcasters, he was regularly harassing online. He's just a dick. He's just an absolute dick in every possible way. And, it is what it is. Listen, there are some people who thrive on misery and negativity, and I hope he gets help. I think he probably needs some sort of mental help. Maybe has PTSD. I don't know. And hopefully he gets himself sorted. And if he does, then great. I like to see people who get reformed. About protesters, someone shared it with him. The problem with compulsive liars is they're compulsive liars. He just makes stuff up. Like, the best was, oh, this guy Dichter, he's not even a trucker. Really? You want my maintenance bills? You're like, some people just talk shit, and that's one of them. Just because somebody can talk quickly doesn't mean they have any sort of wisdom at all. Okay, I'm also almost at the end of the comments here. Megan, question: will Doug Ford be exposed during the commission? The fact that it was he who I can fill that in, who sought an injunction to block the Give, Send, Go money. Yeah, that wasn't Justin Trudeau. That was Doug Ford. And that's 100% on Doug Ford for doing that. And if you're a conservative and you're cheering for Doug Ford and you love the Freedom Convoy, you have some serious cognitive dissonance, right? So, okay, Kiss Junkie, I bought Tom's book. Okay, what'd you think of it? I haven't read it. I've been so busy with this project and other projects. I read a little bit of Lawton's book, not too much of it. He called me to interview me for the book, but that's about it. I only read a chapter and a half or 2 chapters. I've been so busy. After all of this, after I get a chance to get the book out and maybe meet all of you across Canada at some point and take a few months to do that, I'll take a little bit of time myself and I'll read everybody else's book. Tao, okay, yeah, that's fine. Is that the chess player? That I understand. What does that mean, Levitt's boss? What are you asking for? Is that the chess player? I don't know. Okay. Megan says, question, will Ford be exposed during the commission? The fact that he essentially stole the trucker funds. It would be good if normies heard the message. It's insane that he got reelected. He got reelected with the second lowest voter turnout in Ontario election history. But what was infuriating for me, and this is why, like, I can't stand politics, because there is something called ethics and morals, and having some moral character, right? I did not vote for Doug Ford, nor I voted for him the first time around when it was, we were being sold that he's a conservative. The number of people that, we support the Freedom Convoy and ran out to vote for Doug Ford. Like, he's one of the people who put an end to it. Like, all those OPP officers, all those officers in Ontario, those were Doug Ford's officers. Like, that's Doug Ford. That he blocked all the money, and it's his officers that were sent here to crush us. So, and remember, he also, I remember his statement on the truckers as something, and remember he said they have to go home, and he called it, I think he also called it an occupation at one time. Like, he's more left than Kathleen Wynne. He's Kathleen Wynne in a fat suit, like what's his name? Daniel Bowman likes to say. All right. By the way, I'm getting tipsy, so I'm going to call it a night in a couple of minutes. Liz says, please come down to Alberta, about Coots and talk to us down here. I would love to. Listen, get a bunch of people. Let's do an event together, and I'll come down. All I got to do is I got to sell some books so I can pay for the trip to come out there. That's it. Listen, at the end of the day, I'm still a trucker, right? I still got some, but I would love to come down to Coots and also to spend some time with people in rural Alberta. I would love to. Liz, if you can get some people together, let me know. I will come. I will come there, please. And I'm very serious about that. I would love to. So, Lori, it's interesting you say that. So that's what I was saying. The Coots boys are being framed. Those weapons were planted. I know one of the guys arrested at the house with the grandma. So that's somebody I'd like to talk to because we were about to have that happen in Ottawa, and somebody tipped us off, and that's why
I didn't deal with it. Like I said before, I think it was Danny who dealt with it, or that team. And they called the police. We all decided, well, once we all heard, everybody's like, call the police. Call the police right now. Like, like we're no playing around here. We can't have any of that. And so I wouldn't be surprised at all, Laurie, if that was the case. 100% agree with you. And if I can lend a hand in any way and be a voice, I just need to have the information for them. And maybe there's a way we can put some political pressure on your new conservative premier in Alberta to do something about it, right? It's like Lee being approached by NDP member approaching her. I don't understand what that is. It's the Z Lee being approached by the NDP member to raise funds for the ambulance chasing. You're so funny. I would put that on there, but I might get into trouble. But K9, I agree 100%. Pam, it's okay. I can buy some fiat cards with Bitcoin and purchase your book with that way. That's all. So Pam, just so you know, Pam I've known for years. She's in Alberta as well. And that's also one of the reasons I want to go to Alberta to see Pam and spend some time with her. But so Pam, I think, is the second person, if I'm not mistaken, after Risa, that saw what Bitcoin did to the truckers. Because remember, the only money that got to the truckers was the Bitcoin. That's the only money. Everything else was blocked because Bitcoin can't be blocked, despite what the fake news, so-called news, CBC said in their reports. And so that really opened up a lot of people to really understanding the importance of what people in Bitcoin call the separation of money and state, and why that's important. So Dave, any favorite street vendors during the convoy? Yes, kind of. There was a falafel shop that I think I spent enough money there to put one of his kids through university. I don't remember the name of it because at that point I had broken my ankle. So they were doing the run for me. I was just buying everybody lunch and dinner, and they were going to fetch it. But I'll find the name of it. We really got to support the businesses that supported us. The Icon Cafe had been closed down. So whoever ran that lease, we got to find out who the company is and make sure not to deal with them at all. And it is what it is. But there were some businesses that were they're truly supportive, and they were amazing. It was great. Okay, so there. Yeah, it's okay, Tao. I got to read the identity politics comments first, just to make sure they're safe. Okay. Speaking of tolerance, the witness in the commission said there were anti-LGBTQ statements, yet Viva Frei interviewed some LGBTQ people, including trans people, and that person said the only harassment they got from their own community for supporting the convoy. 100%. There was all types of people there. Everybody was coming together. There were hippies with a tie-dye. There were NDP people who came into the spaces to talk to me, who were school trustees, like people that I would just normally, in the past, we would have just, they would have been at my throat because I'm not part of the progressive cult. And something happened. They saw all the love and the hugging and the dancing and the coming together and feeding the homeless, and it just completely diffused them. And, some of them, it took them a little bit of time, but then they started to reach over to us and realize, you know what, we're all the same thing. We all have our individual unique differences, but most of us try to be good people. Even when people disagree with life choices doesn't mean we dislike them and wish harm on them, right? So that's what I've learned. James, person you mentioned earlier going on a podcast, the name sounded familiar to a chess player. I kind of understand that. What I was talking about was a YouTube channel. There's a bunch of podcasts actually already getting lined up, but I think the first one is Clyde Do Something. He's got a good dude from out west. He's got a YouTube channel that's been covering all the convoy stuff during the convoy. He's got about 100,000 subscribers. He's really concise. He's really kind. And he's really measured. I really like his style. So check him out, Clyde Do Something. And I'm going to go on his podcast. I actually just messaged him earlier tonight to say which day do you want to do it. And that's it. So, Dave, I voted for Ford for the first time, hoping to get rid of Kathleen Wynne. Me too, of course. Did not vote for him the second time. Exactly, same as me. And that's the problem. Like, whether you are conservative or you are liberal, your politicians need to hold the values of what they say they are. That's the problem that we're having right now. You know, like I personally, this is my personal thing, I'm pretty social libertarian. I'm really social libertarian. But I want a government that's more conservative than me. That's just the way I am. I want fiscal conservatism. I want rule of law. And I just want a pretty well... I don't want things to go overboard, but at the same time, I want accountability at some degree, and I can deal with a government that's has more restrictive than I do, because in our personal lives we can be more free and more liberal, right? As long as it doesn't impose on our day-to-day lives, it's fine. It's just, and it's so infuriating, and they're still doing the same thing. Like, you watch, they're gonna ruin Pierre Poilievre. If Pierre doesn't get a hold of this party and start purging it, they're going to ruin his chances. And I hope he does, because he would be a great prime minister. But I see them doing all the same mistakes they did in my campaign in 2015. That's when the mistakes really started. And then it just got progressively worse every other subsequent campaign. And I see them going down the same path. And I wish they would friggin' stop it. Because and it's just because they're trying to appease lobby money. Well, if that's what Kathleen Wynne in a fat suit. That's exactly what Doug Ford is, right? He's and one might argue that Kathleen Wynne is intellectually more intelligent than Doug Ford. That might be the difference, right? So he's a bit of a dummy compared to her. It doesn't mean I like her worldview, but she is definitely smarter than him, right? Yeah, supporting businesses now that were pro-Convoy, awesome idea. And I think that's important. That is really important. Listen, that's the whole idea of a free market. That's the power, is utilize the free market to send the message that you want, right? K9, Dave Live from the Shed can probably connect you to Enrico from the iconic... Enrico, he's Latino? I didn't know that. Okay. Yeah, I would like to. I'm trying to connect with Dave Live from the Shed, and because he's in the book. There's a chapter on him in the book, and he's read it, and he liked the chapter because it's an interesting story that he went through. So we thought it was important to include that. Do you remember the day? No, that I don't. Hey, saw you on Mr. Oh, yeah. Hey, saw you on Mr. Sunshine Baby. In the comments, the hearings for the Emergency Act have been wild. Yeah, I've been watching a lot of his stuff throughout. I didn't get to watch stuff much during the convoy because it was constant. But towards the end of it, I finally started to get some time to catch up on YouTube. And I was watching a lot of his channel. I think he's hysterical, actually. I think he's really good. I don't want people to get so enthralled with any sort of political figures. Don't think, and this is not a slight at Pierre Poilievre. I like him. But don't think one person is going to fix the country. That's not how life works, right? That is one step in the process. And I hope these YouTubers and podcasters don't put all their hopes around, okay, Pierre Poilievre is going to be elected, and then everything's going to change. And it's not. And I'll give you an example why. I knew, I haven't spoken to him in years, but I used to know Chris Alexander, who was the immigration minister, the one that was just completely defamed in front of the entire world's media over the Syrian baby, the Syrian child that was died. And he was getting tens of thousands of messages calling him a child murderer from all these extremists and all that sort of stuff. So I remember asking him, I said, Chris, I mean, you're immigration minister. Why didn't you deal with this stuff? And he got so angry. He said, you don't think I tried? You don't think I tried every day? You don't think every day we had a memo going to the Ministry of Immigration as the minister saying you need to invoke these rules because this is the legislation we've passed in the House of Commons. And he said to me, you know what they do? You know what they do? They ignore it. They just ignore it. They ignore it until we get a liberal government in power. So anytime we want to do something, so people say we don't, and this is my sympathy for the Conservatives. They say we don't abide by, we make a bunch of promises and we don't make the promises. It's like, yeah, hey, we try to. But we have this out of control. He didn't describe it that way, but he said we have this institution, what some people call the deep state. But he said we have these people in government who've been there their entire lives, and they think they can just, ignore us, and we can't fire them. We can't get rid of them. So it becomes impossible for us, in many cases, to get legislation enacted upon, right? So that is the bureaucracy, which is the real rot in our society. Liz, they need hundreds of patriots outside the courthouse for support. Yes, they do. And I would make sure, this is talking about Coots, I would make sure that there is a voice and a presence there, and make sure you have people constantly calling Danielle Smith's office, and not just her office. Often, the way you want to really gain influence is you reach out to those rural MLAs, you call them in Alberta, those rural MLAs who have lots of time on their hands because they don't have a lot of portfolios, but they want to be in front of a camera. They want to get their name out. They want to build their portfolio. Those are the people you reach out to and say, why aren't you doing anything about this? And that way you'll get some action. Lori says, I'll get in touch with you if he wants to connect to BJ. Yeah, please let me know if I can help in any way. It would be my pleasure. Sadly, I live in an NDP area. I consider the NDP traitors after what they did during the past couple of years. Yeah, honestly, why can't the NDP just go back to get rid of Jughead? What's his name? Sellout Singh. And just go back to workers' rights and the elderly, right? We need a party that's going to focus on the elderly. That used to be their bread and butter. Right? That's how Bob Rae, God forbid, that's how he got elected when he was leader of the NDP in Ontario. Just go back to that. Just go back to being normal and drop all the communist nonsense. BJD, have you had any recent contact with Poilievre? No, I haven't. The last time I saw him was, I've only met him twice or once. Once for sure. It was at what we call kind of a living room event, but it's in somebody's backyard or backyard event of some people who are very, very nice people who've been involved in the Conservative Party for many, many years. And they had Pierre over when he was going to run for leader the last time, when Unic O'Toole became the leader. Remember, Pierre was running for about a month and then he dropped out. And what I liked about Pierre and what we see in Pierre is everybody's got weaknesses and strengths. Everybody. Myself, him, everybody. But his strength is he gives a speech like an experienced lectured professor. Like he's an amazing speaker. Some people get upset at me for saying that, but he really is. And he gave a speech on the gas industry that, unless you're in the industry, like we know it's important, but listening to speeches about it, kind of usually a snore fest. He made it so interesting. He just grabbed you and pulled him into his space. He knows how to own an audience. He's really good at that, which is why he would be a good prime minister, as long as the policies are good and he purges the leftism in his party. But appointing super woke Melissa Lantsman as deputy leader is a disaster, is an absolute disaster. But in her favor, she's been solid on Iran, so I'm going to be quiet for now. And maybe she'll make us proud. I don't know. O'Toole was off. O'Toole was a traitor. That's the only way to describe him. He was just a traitor to the country, in my opinion. Did you see the star? No, I didn't see this. I don't know what you're talking about, but I don't know what star. I'm sorry, David. I don't know what you're talking about. Tom, it's Scott Adams told me it's a skill you develop when you're talking and reading at the same time, and boy was he right. And it takes a little bit of time. Getting towards the end here, Tao promised to ignore the Pierre Polyev promised to ignore the charter already, so I will stick with the PPC. That I don't know. I have no idea. Pam, we have to stand up and fix our own country by getting on school boards 100%. And city councilors, we can't trust them anymore. 100%. You know what? Being a school trustee is, I know in Ontario, it pays something like $35K a year, $40K a year as a part, and $90,000 expenses. It's a part-time gig. If you have the time, do it. If you have kids that are teenagers and they're moving out of your house and you start to have a little bit of time, do it. I would vote for the best school trustee in the entire country is a gentleman by the name of David Menzies. Now, I don't mean to dead name him. I don't know what his name is now, but he would be an amazing school trustee. And hopefully you guys know the trolling video I'm talking about. Liz says they're trying to, this is about Coots. They're getting to the courthouse November 4th. Oh, so that court is going on while we're going to be testifying. Can somebody just keep me up to date in terms of what's happening? Because that might be important to discuss in testimony. Not just for myself, but some of the other people that will be testifying. But anyways, okay. Okay, let me just scroll down to the end here. So we, Lori, now we're getting to Pierre. Okay, whatever, fine. Lori, okay, Manitoba, Lori. Lori, I'm in Manitoba, but Red Deer is my hometown. I'm going to encourage everyone I know to attend. Okay, great. And that's about it. Okay, so, what was this last one? Oh my God. Menzies, something like that. Anyways, he's awesome. I will keep in touch about what's happening in Lethbridge, about the Cootsmen. Yeah, so if I can offer any help, I will. The first thing I'm trying to do to offer help for everybody was putting together this book with John and trying to get the truth and some of the stories out, what was going on during the convoy, in a way that is digestible to anybody, whether you're conservative or more liberal-minded or whatever. If you're not a hardcore party wonk, then you're gonna like this book, and just let me know. Okay. I think I'm going to cut it for now. I think that's it. If there's any other questions, just throw it in right now. But I've had 1 and a bit glasses of wine and a half of Smirnoff, and I think I'm slurring my speech, which is embarrassing. But so now you believe me when I say I don't really drink very much. Heard of Trevor. Where there will be an audiobook. Yes, there will be an audiobook. The audiobook will not be out initially when the digital and paperback book is out. I will be working on it actually. I'll restart it a little bit, but it will be out. It's going to be a few months until the audiobook is out because I'm going to read it, and it's just going to take me time to get through the entire manuscript in the audiobook form, but I promise you we will do that. I listen to most of my books now. I listen to audiobook form as well. So I will be doing that, and if I'm going to be very adventurous, we're getting requests to do the book in different languages, in French and in Spanish, and I may even attempt to narrate it in Spanish as well, so people can make fun of my Spanish accent. All right. Dave, have you seen the book, How the Prime Minister Stole Freedom? Yes, I actually just ordered it a couple of days yesterday, I think it is. I just ordered it, so I'm going to get it. It's amazing. And I was thinking about promoting the two together. I think that, because I saw what's it called? Clyde Do Something, the YouTube channel that I'll be going on. He actually highlighted that book and went through part of it, and it is just a masterpiece. It is absolutely brilliant, especially for those of us who grew up with Dr. Seuss, who we have to bring back, by the way. There's a whole bunch of things we need to do. We need to get our national anthem back. We need to bring Dr. Seuss back. We need to cut out a lot of the bullshit that's gone on over the past few years, and we'll do it. It's just going to take time. We'll get there. Trevor, I'm in when it's out. Cool. Yeah, I promise it'll be out. I promise you. Just be patient. I'll get it out as soon as possible. Oh God, yeah, that's right. That meme video of Justin Trudeau. Sorry, I should put these comments up. Have you seen Justin Trudeau read that book to the children? It's on YouTube. It's hysterical. Okay, I'm going to shut everything down now. I'm glad most of you, or I guess all of you, liked the cover of the book. I hope it gives you some sort of emotional response, and I'm hoping the rest of the book will do the same for you. I think it will. I'm really proud of it, and let's try to get the word out to all those people who don't understand what went on in Ottawa, and they're just confused because they've been brainwashed by the so-called media, aka the fake news. I got to run, and K9, thank you very much. Oh, and K9, I'm going to reach out to them in Grimsby tomorrow. I'll send them text messages. I would love to do a pub night with them. They're close, so I can figure out maybe a weekend, a Saturday night or something. Come out and shake some hands and give some hugs and have some drinks together and get to know one another, and looking forward to doing that. And I would love to do that in as many places across the country. So, David, nice to finally get to chat with you. BJ, been watching since day one. I appreciate it, brother. I really do. It's not over yet. There's still a lot more to do, but I think we've hit a peak of stupidity in this country, and I think we're now in the recovery stage. And the recovery stage is going to take a few years. But we will get our freedoms back, and I think we'll even expand them even more. Because Generation Z, from what I see, some of them are woke, but most of them are quite libertarian, and they want as little government as possible. And Waldesburg would be cool, or just in the general. You know what? Actually, I was going to. I connected with one of the Convoy organizers, who you would all know, who's from that area. And I wanted to send her a message saying, hey, why don't we do an event together? Because she's in the book, and she comes off very favorably in the book, as she should. And maybe we can do something together in the Sarnia area. And if we do, I'll let you know, David. So, yeah, more to come, I promise. And we will all get together and break bread together. And Ben loved the cover much more than 1,000 words. Yeah, it's 50,000 words. It's a light read, but it's the information is dense. Anyways, I love you all, and Sonia, you get a star for that. Honk honk, and we'll see you soon. Good night, and be good.